Chapter 12 is called Prophecy, Power and Authority. It's the first of two chapters on the figures of the biblical prophets and the way in which they give us forms of cultural critique. This is one of the things that before I got writing this book, I had no idea what I was going to say on the prophets. I knew that, Amos is really quite political in his critique of society, and there's a lot of sort of prophetic discourse about the weak and the vulnerable and widows and orphans and so forth. But I didn't know how the prophets fitted into a picture of biblical cultural critique. And what I discovered as I was reading for this book was just how, I'm sure many people watching this video would have known this already, but I was a bit slow on the uptake, just how weird the prophets are as an institution. There's no school of prophets. There's no line of prophets apart from Elijah and Elisha. They're the one example of sort of passing prophecy on from one person to another. There's no rhyme or reason to these prophets. They can be seemingly quite well off in society, probably like Isaiah. They can be shepherds. They can prophesy in courts. They can prophesy at the city gates. And just the great variety of prophetic utterances. Ezekiel with his acting out his performative prophecy, and there's wonderful lyricism in some prophets. There's very direct language in other prophets. And this sort of anarchic institution, this unregulated, uncontrollable institution at the heart of Hebrew society that has authority without power and yet is recognized by those in power and often feared by those in power. It's just really quite an extraordinary institution. You can't imagine ancient Babylon or ancient Egypt having an equivalent authoritative institution right in its heart that often just rips into authority and rips into the king in quite uncompromising ways. So I tease out some of the consequences of that for our understanding of culture in this chapter, and then in the next chapter that I'll talk about in the next video, we go on to looking in more specific detail at what the prophets say.